So why did I flip my classroom? Well, a few years ago, my students used to say things like, Mr. Bilash, I understand when you do it on the board, but when I try it myself at home, I simply don't know where to begin. How many of you have heard that from your students? Well, no wonder. I was teaching in a 19th century classroom called the factory model. My students were cogs. Step 1, class lecture. I gave it for 45 minutes. Step 2, students would go home and they would do homework, 30 minutes plus. Step 3, they would return to class, they would check their homework, and there would be more lecture. Step 4, go home and more homework. And we would go on and on and on until finally step X, we're ready for the fun stuff. We're ready for real learning. Labs would be done once per week. Projects would be done 4 times a year. Now, the fun stuff would be less than 10% of the time, and the less interesting, 90% of the time. Well, we live in a very, very different world. We have Amazon, we have eBay, we have email, Facebook, Twitter, online news, ebooks, PowerPoint, online banking, and so on. It's a very, very different environment now, and we need to learn differently. So, with greater opportunity comes greater expectations. New skills are needed, and those skills are expected. Modern methods of teaching are also expected. 21st century teaching. One example would be flipping your classroom. So how do you flip your classroom? Well, it begins with step 1. Students go home, and at home they get the content of the class by video. Video is 15 minutes long. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes per minute of video to summarize the lesson. Students get to pause the teacher, rewind the teacher, and repeat the teacher. Step 2, they arrive back in class the next day and they apply what they've learned at home. Sure, they'll do their labs and their projects, but they can do that day 2, not day X. We can also discuss the concepts. We can analyze the issues. They can share what they know. They can practice. Remember, they already have the content. Now we can develop that content. And they can problem solve. And one of the most important things, they can ask their own questions, things that interest them, what they want to learn. The flipped classroom provides an opportunity for one-to-one instruction. Since students already have the content and they're working individually in class, they can work in small groups. They can work according to their ability level, so that gives me an opportunity to differentiate in my teaching. We can build on 21st century skills. Students can produce things, they can create things, and in turn learn new material. And of course, we can reflect on learning.